Hi guys, Rhonda Without an H here with you. So I wanted to show you a little bit of what I've been working on recently. My husband had some of those CD envelopes, you know, the little square envelopes that you put the CDs in, like this. And I started altering them. And then I got the idea to carefully take one apart, and I made a template, and so I could create more and do more things to it, because quite frankly these didn't come apart very easily, and you could, it was a little bit messy. But anyway, so that's what I've been working on, just having fun, doing something different. Now, some of the envelopes, you will see the difference on the regular CD envelope. If you'll notice, the flaps are on the back. And that, of course, is so that when your CD slips inside, there's nothing to scratch it, like, the flap. But we alter everything, right? We take something and repurpose it into something else. So as a card, envelope for a card, I actually prefer having the flaps on the inside. And you can't see with this one quite so easily, but you can see, here, it just looks a little bit nicer. Let me show you. When I first started doing this, I started with some little Easter, or just some fun things that I had, some fabric squares from years ago that I'd never done anything with, and so I wanted to use those up. And I glued my flaps on the outside, and I don't think it's a clean as look as with them on the inside, but there again, I understand why they did that. So this is what I started off with. And you can see that I have actually stitched onto the circle here. I used an acetate. You can use any kind of lightweight plastic. I understand that some cooking, you can get a roll of plastic that's not too high and in a nice big roll that you can cut. But I just had some acetate sheets, and so I cut those up and have used those. So you get texture with it done this way. And if you, then you would put a card in here. Okay? And I went ahead, I did 3 of those like that. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. And they were fun and it was cute. And you can see I went around the edge to secure my acetate. And then I started evolving just a little bit, and I wanted to do something different. So this was the next one that I did. And this is stitched, or glued and stitched, and then stitched to the acetate. So when you pull the card out, you still have the front, and I've decorated it, Valentine's. Don't you just love hearts? Just pink and red hearts. What's more fun? So I have just been taking some of my leftovers and creating some cards. So here's a sweet, and this I believe is a cottage rose image that I purchased. I just think they're fun. They're cute. You can do anything with them. And then I wanted to try something a little bit different. So this one, I went ahead and just glued around and didn't stitch. And this one I did the coffee dyed with the doilies to give accent. And I think this is really attractive as well. I like this. And I made a boo-boo here. I made my boo-boos, guys. On my little punch, I cut out just a little bit too much to where when you turn it over here, you could see it, and it was like, oh man. So anyway, I just added another little piece there, and it's fine. But I want to show you this. This is just a cute little image. It is Kismet. I found this from just some book pages. I was going through some old pages, and you can cut out words and phrases and things like that you can use in your art. And then I backed it with a little bit of lined paper. And this is, I have several here. This is a wrapper that I cut out and put on here. It was just super fun. Stitched around it, like to get the little, mixed media in there. Made a little pocket and even put a heart. This is a sticker. And then on the back. So you can put a little note in here. You can write a little message here. And if you need more room, you've got all of this. This, of course, I backed with some other coffee dyed paper that I had. So that, I love that. I'm just like, oh, that's so cute. Anyway, so that's, well, let's see. It's easier to put them in this way. Okay, so that's that. And then I was looking, I'm going to try to find her and put her link. So I was done with all of those that I showed you. And then I happened to watch somebody who had made a bunch of these. And I'm like, what? I did this. But I guess a lot of us, creatives, we're all thinking about the same kind of thing or have the same kind of supplies. But one of the things that she did that I thought was really cute was she took some of her scrapbook papers. And so I made one of those that's double-sided so that when it's open and it's empty, look how pretty that is. And you don't have to coffee dye it. You don't have to do anything to it if you don't want to. And it's very beautiful. I stitched around. I added a little bit of fabric and some cheesecloth and a little butterfly. And these I found in the dollar store long time ago. So another image. And this I picked up the other day, some vintage lace. Oh, I wish you could see this in person, seriously. It is so tiny and petite. It's just about 3/8 of an inch wide. And it's just gorgeous. So anyway, so you've got that you can write on. Just for another idea of what you can do. And then I decided to take just one of my plain envelopes and not coffee dye it, not stain it with anything, and just make it just kind of simple and elegant. And so I just stitched some lace around and did that 2 or 3 times, and then just added some white and black quilting thread and tied a little bow. I just think I love it. It's very lacy, and it's just pretty. I just like it. And then we'll take that out. And this one, I just stitched at the top and the bottom, and then I glued on a really pretty complementary lace. And I just think this is gorgeous. It's simple, it's elegant. This would be wonderful for a wedding anniversary, a birthday, Valentine's. It's just, I think this is very classy. So, oops, we want to put it with the image to the front. So you get that shining through. Okay, and then the last couple that I did, I just took an image from Pinterest. I did a little bit of gluing on, took some little images, did a little bit here and there just to add a little bit more color and highlight the envelope. And then I just wrote "Be Mine, Valentine," and then you have the whole back, of course, that you can write a sweet note. So I just wanted to do a bunch of different ones for you to see the possibilities, and then I'm going to show you how to make one, real simply. So here is that same little Easter, those little blocks that I had, and this time I decided to just glue it on, and then I stitched down. You can see I did a little bit of stitching, yes indeed, with my variegated white to black thread. And this one I did in the 4-inch circle instead of the 3.5 inch, which most of them are 3.5 inch. And as you can see, if you look real closely, you can see the little line where the flaps turn in. Now, if I had glued the flaps onto the back, you wouldn't see those, of course. But I just really like the look of the flaps not showing. And so, to me, it's not a big deal. But that just gives you an idea of what you can do. Okay, so let me move all of these, and I'm going to show you how easy they are to make, and I hope you'll just make a bunch. And maybe you have those CD envelopes and you can go ahead and alter those. But I thought it would be fun to have a pattern. And so that's what I did was, like I said, took one apart and I created a pattern. So I am going to, well, first of all, I have 3 or 4 sheets together. So I'm stapling those on 4 sides. And that is to stabilize the paper so they don't slip underneath. So now I will go ahead and put this on and get my little pencil, my mechanical pencil. And I'm just going to trace lightly. And I have, if you're interested at all, in my Etsy, I have put this pattern that you can download, and I have included from a 4-inch to a 3 1/8 inch circle. The one I use most is 3 1/2. But you could see it also makes a good cover when you're wanting to spray and you've already put your acetate or your plastic down and you don't want to get it with the spray. Then I use the template to cover that up. All right, so here we go. Let's go ahead and trim. You can cut it all out by hand, and I will do part of this by hand, but you know, when you have the tools, make sure I get through all of that. And we will just a little bit here. I don't want to go too far in because you can see how this curves, and that's kind of a cool feature of this envelope, and I want to make sure that I keep that. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and finish cutting. So this way, oh, whoops, we didn't cut through all the layers. Okay. So we will, this way, I was saying, you can create several at a time. And if you're uncomfortable, if your scissors aren't that great and you can't cut through that many thicknesses, then do a couple. Do 2 or 3. Okay. You know, it's funny because the last couple of days, as I haven't been on YouTube for a few days, and then I noticed I've gone on and I've noticed that there's 2 or 3 that are doing CD envelopes, and it was just like, this is bizarre, because I seriously had not watched anybody, and then all of a sudden I'm like, wow. And I don't know if they've watched each other or if everybody's, you know, we've just been creating our own and are like, oh cool. But that's kind of how it is, you know, the creative spirit. You feel so inclined and you work with something, and then you get on and you see, wow, that's cool. Some other wonderful people out there have been doing something similar. Okay, we'll just kind of get those out of the way. Now, I was kind of in a hurry, so you'll take your time. Right, now, get a straight edge and get a stylus or anything that's got a sharp but not too terribly sharp point to it. You could use a crochet hook, you could use a needle if it's like the back of the needle, and then we just score. But be careful not to go too deep, because you don't want to rip your paper. And if you're not careful, you can poke a hole in that. So I just kind of lightly go over that, and then I come to the opposite side and I do the same, just lightly, and fold in, and you can start to see the envelope start to take shape. I do all of this before I create or make the hole. And if you have a die cut machine and you can do the circles, or you have a punch, you know, that has a long reach that does the circles, then that's fabulous. But I don't have anything like that, and I don't know if I want to go to the expense of getting it, how often I would use a die cut machine. I just really don't know. But I have come up with a way to make it work for me. Okay, now what I'll do is fold this in, and as you can see, it's a little bit further. These are not quite equal, so I'm going to adjust that just a tad bit, and then I'm going to bring it down and adjust my bottom. Sometimes in the folding, it just gets a teeny bit off, and that's okay. So now they're equal space apart. So then we'll just open it up, and you decide what size circle. Do you want the bigger one where there's very little around, or do you want a little bit smaller so you have some room for decorating? It's just really up to you. Like I said, normally I use the 3.5 inch, so that's what I'm going to do here, because that's, you know, that's kind of the one I've decided I like. So then I will take, and on the inside, on the back side, I'm just going to draw lightly a circle, okay? And then I'm going to do this with my cutter, but you could just pinch it a little bit, or you could just poke a hole and then use your scissors. And then I go ahead and I cut and try to be as accurate as I can and cut around my circle. And like I said, if you have a die cut machine, then this could just be, you're probably, those of you that have those, you're probably just like, Rhonda. You need to have a die cut machine because you're making this so much work that does not need to be. And I'm not disagreeing with you. But there again, it's like, well, I just have to have a lot more things that I do with circles, you know, to do it and have it be worth my while. And I know this sounds stupid, but this is kind of fun. I kind of like it. Okay. Not perfect by any means, and I was trying to go rather quickly. Okay. So here we go. There's your envelope, you guys. Easy. So then what I would do is I have several of those sheets of, like I said, of acetate. This one has been cut. And what I will do, well, I'll just do it. We'll just do it then. Now, if I were going to coffee or tea dye this, or use some of my other colored sprays and things like that, do that first. Do anything that you want to do color-wise first. And then go ahead, and what you want to do is glue. I actually got some of this for Christmas, and it's fun to use. I've heard really good things about it. So I'm just kind of tacking down in the corners. Now, if you don't have a sewing machine, then you will need to glue all around, and you'll want to be very careful about that. But I'm just tacking it in place so that I can stitch around. Okay? We'll go ahead and put that up. So now I have this done. So then I would take it to my sewing machine, and using a wide stitch, normally on my sewing machine I use a 2.2 for regular fabric sewing. With paper I use a 2.4 to 2.8, but for something like this I use a 3 to a 3.5 even, because I don't want it tiny stitches. It's harder because you're going through the acetate as well as the paper, and so you kind of have to help it along. And you just sew carefully, and I do it 3 or 4 times around. Okay? And then I would take a look and see what other kind of decorating I want to do. Do I want to, for instance, let's move some of these back in here. Do I want to add some little accents here and there? This would be the time to do it before I've closed up my envelope. So anything that you want to do decorating wise, do it to your envelope. And the last thing that you will do is to glue your flaps. It's purely your choice as to whether you put them on the inside or the outside. Let me show you another little tip that I do with mine. So I am just going around lightly with my pencil, and that is creating, excuse me, that's creating a glue line for me to use. And I've been using my art glitter glue for this because it's got the tiny little nozzle, and I like that. So then I will glue on both sides. If you can see that. It just gives me a nice guide. And then I close it up, lay my flaps down, and the last thing that I would do, okay, go in. Go in, little pin. Okay, then the last thing that I would do is just take a gummy eraser, an art gummy eraser, and just, lightly go over that if that bothers you, if you happen to see any of the pencil lines. And there you go. And then you would make a card to match. Now the size of the card that I have been putting in these and the template that I've made, if in case you're interested in that, I'm doing it 3/4 square. So you just make whatever it is, you decorate. You've just got a fun project. All right, guys. I don't know if that's been helpful or not. I hope it has been a little bit, just to try something new. To add, they can be journaling cards. They can be cards to mail out. How often do we actually mail a card anymore? They seem to be a little bit of a thing of the past. But anyway, until next time, have a fabulous day. Bye now.